Today we're gonna be building my 7-inch quad for my long range setup, and I'm using this iflight HL7 frame for this build. Cause I wanna try flying at night, I am gonna be using this FOXEER Cat Super Starlight FPV camera. It is a 2.1mm lens with 2 megapixel sensor, and it's switchable from 16:9 to 4:3 aspect ratio. I have seen a lot of good videos with this in night shots. I think it did pretty well on its job, and it weighs 15.16 grams without the wires. The Rush Tank Plus, it has 12-volt input, but it supports 7 to 36 input voltage, and it has 25 milliwatts to 800 milliwatts and 48 channels, race band and low race. The LUMINIER AXII 2 is a long-range 5.8 GHz antenna. Since this is a cheap long-range build, I will be just using this R9 Slim Plus. It has a diversity antenna, and I will be changing these antennas with these two TBS dipole antennas. This setup gives me a decent 4 kilometers with my other 5-inch quad, so it should be good. Long range quad will be better with GPS, so I use this PIN 880 GPS module. The motors, I'll be using the ECO EMAXX 2306 1700 kV. It supports 3 to 6S, and of course 7-inch props, 5 blades. For the flight control, I'll be using the MAMBA stock F7 with PDB Bluetooth, so you can use better flight on your phone. It supports 6S, a 30x30 stock size, and I use this because this is the only flight control that I am familiar with, and it's cheap. So it has also 9 volts output for your VTX if you want. So it's building time! Before I bought this frame, I already decided where to put my diversity antenna, so I decided to put the first antenna at the front. I will be using these two TPU mounts to mount my diversity antenna. I bought 2 of them from Amazon. I don't know what is this for, but one thing I know is just it fits. The one hole fits from the stand-ups, so yes, I'll show you later how it looks. The FOXEER comes with this bracket, so you will use this to fit the camera to the frame. So in order to fit inside, you put the bracket first. Make sure to align the hole from the frame and the bracket, and insert the camera. It's kinda hard to fit this inside. Yeah, but it will fit. There. Okay. And we're going to put some screws. And by the way, the screws from the FOXEERs are too short for this setup. I think for this setup you'll need to use a longer screws to mount your camera to the frame and to the bracket. So we need a longer screws for this one. next is lining up the parts first, just to make sure all wires, just to make sure the wires are gonna fit, if it's too short or too long. And as you see, my wires are short because I'm going to put my flight control here. In order to extend my wires, I will be using these racing wires to reach the flight controller from the motors. So let's start mounting the motors. So now we'll put everything first in place, just to imagine how to wire it. I have this extra TP amount from my SL5 HD iflight frame, so I'm gonna be using this one to mount my receiver here, so it will be safe. I used double-sided tape to mount the racing wires to the frame so that it will line up and it won't move when you solder it. So it's time to cut the wire. As you see, I already cut this, so it's better to line the racing wires first before you cut the wires, so that you won't mess up. Pre-tin the wires and the racing wires. And solder them all together. Then mount the ESCs using the plastic screws. I also use the rubber bushings just to minimize the vibration. Before we connect the wires to the ESCs, we put it inside first to the wire protector, just to make your wire safer and last longer. And sealed it with the heat shrink from end to end. So I just used the hair blower and it still works. And pre-tin the wires, also the ESCs, and then solder it to the ESC. So after soldering all the motor wires to the ACs, it's time to solder the XT60 wire for the power supply. So this one is kind of hard, and you might want to also pre-tin, put a lot of bubbles, they call it bubble solder, before you solder them together. I will be also putting this 1000 UF 35 volts capacitor to filter the noise. They say it helps the video quality. So this is the negative and this is the positive. So make sure to put the negative side on the black wire and the positive side, of course, to the red wire. I also wrap the wire with the heat shrink just to be safe, not to have a short circuit. As you see here, I forgot one motor wires to solder it to the ASCs, so I need to solder it first. There. So as you see, I'm not an expert in soldering, so I think it's kinda good. It's kinda decent for me. Before you attach the flight control, make sure to plug first the wire to the ESCs and then flight control, and then that's the time you plug the wire to the flight control. In connecting the camera to the flight control, we're just gonna use the red, black, and yellow wire. It's the 5 volts, ground, and the video. So you connect the yellow wire to the camera from the flight control, black to the ground, and red to 9 volts. So for the VTX, I just use 4 wires. I cut the other wires, so we're just gonna be using the power, ground, smart audio, and the video. So to the flight control, you're gonna connect the red wire to 9 volts, black wire to ground, and the yellow wire to the video, and the last wire, I don't know the color, it's the last wire would be attached on TX3 for smart audio. So for the receiver, we're just gonna use the volts, S bus out for the white wire, ground for the black wire, and the last wire is for the S port. So we're gonna cut these extra wires. To the flight control, you're gonna connect the red wire to the volts, S bus out to S bus. In my case, S port to TX2, and a black wire to ground. So here we're going to take off the cover and replace the antenna with the TBS dipole antenna, and be careful on taking this antenna off because it's really tiny. And then put the 2 antennas first inside the heat shrink, and then attach the antennas to the receiver, and then cover the receiver with the heat shrink, and then blower it. So this time you insert the receiver to the TPO mount so that it will be safe. It holds still, and then before you attach the mounting to the frame, you should be connecting the wires first, which I didn't do. So for the GPS, I used the UART6 from the flight controller. I'm sorry for my camera here, it failed to autofocus, but just connect the 5 volts to flight control, ground to ground, RX from GPS to TX flight control, TX from GPS to RX flight control. And done! my 7-inch long-range quad. By the way, you need to flash firmware on your receiver and bind it to your TX to fly this drone. I'll put video links below for the tutorials on how to bind your receivers. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more FPV videos. Here's the maiden flight of this drone. Enjoy!